Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part six. I love that.
Um, so yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about your writing process because I told you
yeah.
I really love the way your characters talk. They
Okay,
just
so
speak.
yes, and that's I wanted to talk about that. So with One Day Like Rain, it was very much like whatever was coming through me, I just let it go onto the page. With that, and then that's not the technique I use when I'm writing these horror films for Indonesia, for example, which they have to
Mm,
follow much more strict storytelling structure, and you know they
yeah,
have to accomplish many things. Um, and they're commercial movies, but One Day Like Rain was more like the thing that was coming through, just
yeah,
let it come through. And their dialogue, I just got into this zone where I felt like don't think about conventional movie dialogue at all. Don't even and don't have an agenda like, oh, this dialogue has to communicate as clearly as possible this one idea. I just was like, just if someone sees something, they may say something that sounds silly or stupid, and I just let it flow onto the page. And I think that a lot of that naturalism you're talking about comes from those unexpected comments that one flip of the coin and it could seem lame, but then the other flip of the coin, it's like, wait, that's just totally real. Like because I didn't expect that to come out of
mm,
someone's mouth, and yet it's kind of what happens in real life. And so that, and then of course, there were many scenes where we did have to express certain concepts and have that
yeah.
communicated. And I made sure those were written out. Um,
Would you? Well, you guys did a lot of rehearsal, but would you embrace improv? Like, would you allow them
mhm.
to? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
not
did. I
necessary.
embraced improv in rehearsal.
Yeah,
And some actors like to bring more of that to the table. Some are really more about, I really want to just honor the material and just work with what's on the
yeah,
page. And they were more like into the material. But I think they resonated with them I think they were just enjoying the
yeah,
quirky naturalness of the dialogue and all of that. And then when the more high heady concepts are in there, they they knew that it had to be communicated. But there were some very interesting suggestions that did end up in the final script, some great lines and some things. So yeah, I'm always open to that.
Now, when you're writing, do you like to be in a secluded space? Do you like to go somewhere out of the norm? How do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Interesting question. Yeah. I'm a total 100% quiet, no music, no background noise, nothing, in my apartment with no distractions. I love silence. I can be in
Yeah,
silence all day long, and I'm very comfortable in that space. I don't put on music. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't. And of course, I never have the television on ever. Obviously,
yeah,
it's just and yeah, I need that. And you're listening to the dialogue in your head. You can't have a
yeah,
distraction
yeah.
ruining that rhythm and flow.
Now, will you do you work in, do you like to get it all done in one draft, or do you like to work, how do you work on?
Yeah, everything is different. Every project's different. I've had projects where I've done up to 100 drafts, it seems like, where it's just maybe some of them were smaller tweaks, but and then with this, I think it was the least I've ever done. I think it was something like two or three drafts, and that was
Three.
it. Yeah. And the script is very thin, by the way,
Hmm.
because there's not a lot of dialogue. So I think the
Yeah,
script was 62 pages or something like that. And I
yeah,
said, but I knew how long it would be because I knew how many of those visual scenes I wanted to stretch
yeah.
out. And I said, this is going to be like an 85-minute movie. And it's exactly what it ended up being.
Hmm. Now,
Yeah.
would you say your writing style came from your work at USC?
Uh, Not really.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
hard to dissociate the the classes and some of the training from my own
Yeah.
personal like research, and a lot of my learning has come from me pursuing things on my own, um,
Mhm.
and doing things on my own. So I don't know how much of the USA. It was such really, and it was such a short period of time that I feel like I'm always learning. That's one of my favorite things to do is to study and learn and watch great art films and read books about it and just constantly. And I've never stopped doing that. So I don't I don't know if those little 4 years had an impact,
Mm,
but I don't think that they had such a big. I don't think that was the majority of what um, formulated my style or my
mhm.
knowledge and even my knowledge of film. I wouldn't say that,
Interesting.
yeah, that was the major element.
So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of everything. That's kind of where it came from. Cool.
Definitely, yeah. Things I've read, and, if you read from a young age, you really pick up on a lot of
Yeah.
things. I love reading, so all the novels I've read, all the literature I've read, it's all there. I
Yeah.
mean, it contributes.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about editing.
Editing,
Because I said, yeah.
yes. Oh, it's so much fun. I love it. Editing, that
Me.
being in that stage of production, which is, I guess, it's post production.
Yeah.
The picture editing part is just so great. Whether I'm the editor or not, I'm working with an
Mm,
editor. Oh, I was going to say, you said One Day Like Rain felt like there was nothing unnecessary in it or nothing that went
yeah.
on too long. And I feel that I agree with that. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is something that I've always felt ever since we locked picture, and I still feel I have a lot of criticisms about the movie because nothing ever works out perfectly the way you want it. But I do agree that I wouldn't have wanted it to be any shorter or any longer. I don't think
Yeah.
it drags. If you have
Yeah.
tolerance for this kind of art film, I don't think it drags
Yeah.
at all. I think it's just the way it should be. And Steven Sprung, my great friend, he
Mm,
was the editor, and he has edited Arrested Development, that TV show, and Star Trek Three from Beyond, and
oh,
one of
wow.
the one after the second one, the third, and show after show, Community, and so many things. He's a great editor, good friend. His favorite movie is Stalker, Tarkovsky's Stalker. So we
Really?
share sensibilities, and I work very. I'm the kind of director where it's like I dictate frame cuts for sure. Take
Mm,
one frame off there, add 2 frames here. That I right, but that doesn't mean that. But he did things that I never would have imagined. Like he knew how to completely rearrange scenes to make the story
yeah.
work better, and I was too close to it to think that way, and it made a gigantic positive impact on the film for sure.
But that's good on you that you're willing to listen to him and allow him to make those changes. Sometimes people
Yeah.
get in it and be like, "No, this is the way I see it."
No,
You're
because
able to see.
yeah, it came out of a place of I could feel in this area something's not quite right, and then way over here in this part of the movie, right there, something is just it's just not perfect yet. And
Yeah.
but I couldn't put my finger on it, and he identified what it is, came up with the solutions, did it, and showed me, and multiple times, and it, yeah, he's awesome.
Wow. That's great.
So the new film is, yeah, very excited about it. It's you can look at it almost like One Day Like Rain,
Yeah.
the extension of that part two. It's not really part two, but um, the big significant difference is that this one is much more talky, much more dialogue driven, a lot more concepts, mystical, scientific,
Yeah.
are like explained very clearly and thoroughly for the audience because that part needs to be clear because the way I'm connecting all of this big soup of ideas together, I'm keeping vague. And if you think it
Mm,
through, you will be able to see how it all fits. And then the conclusion, which is an amazing, it has a very specific conclusion, something surprising and interesting, it will make sense if you are able to see how all that very carefully plays into it. But I don't hold hands with that element. I do hold
yeah.
hands with explaining each concept very clearly.
Yeah.
Anyone will be able to get each thing as it's introduced. So different than One Day Like Rain. Not as much
Yeah.
just visual storytelling and silence, although we're certainly going to take
Yeah.
care to do as much of that as we can. but on the page, it's more dialogue driven. But thematically, same thing, the same exact same movie. Something is shifting in the evolution of humanity and consciousness.
Yeah.
We are being primed to become multidimensional beings rather than beings that are stuck in well, four-dimensional time space, which is all an illusion of sorts. The veils are being lifted, and something's breaking down with time, and ultimately, one more aspect of the true nature of reality is revealed at the end, and where we're going. So there's an apocalyptic feel, but it's a positive. It's
Yeah.
apocalyptic
Positive.
because we are moving.
Rebirth.
Yeah, we're moving into a much better space. And I feel like One Day Like Rain also has that, although the ending is vague. You can be very unsure what happened
Yeah.
to humanity. But I see it, and many people do, as whatever happened, it was positive for the earth and for humanity. Whatever happened to humanity, it was a positive shift.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the same thing here.
Great. Is there anything else you would like to discuss that we haven't touched on?
Oh God, I think we
Oh,
covered a lot of it. Oh, what?
I do. Let's talk a little bit about a Clockwork Orange because
Yeah,
your
Clockwork.
email, I was,
I was cured, all right.
I was cured, all right.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Is
Stanley
that,
Kubrick is
yeah? Is that, you said that's not your favorite? Is it? Is it your favorite Kubrick film?
it's well, this is my top three favorite Kubrick films. It would be
Yeah,
2001, Clockwork Orange, and Barry Lyndon. I think they're
yeah,
all masterpieces. I mean, he's made many masterpieces, but those three to me stand above the rest.
yeah.
And um, throughout the years, you're which one do I love the most of the three?
Yeah, it's
It
hard.
shifts a little bit.
Well,
I
it's
would
like
have to
that.
land with 2001 though
Yeah,
as
it's
the
like
one.
that new thing, the letterbox thing. Give me your four favorite films. I'm like, I can't do
Oh
that.
God,
That's impossible.
I know.
I mean, four favorite. I mean, like, here are four
And
films I like.
25. Yeah, at least say 25. That gives you a little openness,
Yeah,
and even that's tough. But
yeah.
um,
It would be
so
torture for
Kubrick,
me.
yeah, I mean, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the greatest
Was
filmmakers who
that
ever lived.
does that line is that the line that resonates the most with you
That
from that
moment,
film?
yeah, because I was,
Yeah.
I think, 17 or 18 when I saw it for the first time, and I'll never forget the experience because it was
Yeah.
mind blowing. And when that line hit, and I realized what the movie had done to me, and then took me back to that spot at the end, the way it winds you up, and like a
Yeah.
tightening rubber band or something, all the way towards that ending. And then that line comes in. I had
No.
no control over my body at that point. I leapt out of my chair. I was in a dorm room with my friend, and we were
Oh,
watching it
yeah.
on a stupid little TV. And
Yeah.
I leapt out of my chair. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was
Yeah.
like, "I can't believe this!" Like, so that feeling is just,
That's what film can do for you when you
yeah.
like really let it in. It can just like, yeah, just for me, I just start like crying uncontrollably sometimes. I
Oh
almost
yeah.
cried a lot during your film because I was just like, this is so beautiful. This is so wow. I told you it was like a meditative experience.
I'm
It,
so
it,
glad.
I can't, as I
Yes.
say, I can't come up with words for it.
Well, it
There are
is
no
true. It's
words.
because yes, and 2001 does that for me completely.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's a good
God.
one.
I probably more so than any other movie where
Have you ever
you
seen that
feel
in the theater?
multiple times. I've seen it
That's great.
projected in 70 millimeter.
I did too. They did that in New York when I was there. Such a
Oh my
beautiful.
God, there's nothing like it. And I would say it needs to be seen that way, whether it's
It really
70 or
does.
35, but it needs to be seen on a really good theater screen with good sound and quiet people in the audience.
Yeah. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.